And now for more, we are joined by Harvey Pitt. He's a former chairman of the SEC and now chairman and founder of Kalorama Partners. Mr. Pitt joins us from our Washington newsroom to discuss the issues at hand. Mr. Pitt, welcome back to Bloomberg News. Always good to have you on, sir.
It's good to be with you.
You just heard our Peter Cook's interview with Tom Quadman of the Chamber. He said that this vote today is a giveaway to special interest and that our economy will suffer. I was wondering if you'd like to respond to that.
Well, I think that there are some very important competing interests that have had to have been balanced. And my concern really is that the Congress has really dictated pretty much where this was going to come out when it adopted Dodd-Frank.
Mr. Pitt, why do companies hate this new rule so much? Do they feel that it's punitive as opposed to what its supporters say, an attempt for more corporate governance and transparency?
I think there's a real concern, and it's definitely realistic, that large shareholders who have a particular point of view or agenda, not the rank-and-file shareholders, will use this to further their own policies. For example, unions may further this ability to get directors on who will take a different approach with respect to labor issues at the company.
Is that a fair criticism?
I think it's a fair criticism. I think the real problem here is that there was a much simpler solution than the one the SEC has come up with. The simpler solution was simply to say that state law determines what rights shareholders have. And if shareholders under state law have the right to nominate directors or propose bylaw changes, then all the SEC would do would be simply to set the parameters, who could make the proposal and how many of them there could be.
Well, Mr. Pitt, as you're no doubt aware, the Business Roundtable saying that proxy access could be used by hedge funds to, quote, advance their own short-term interest. Are hedge funds going to be a beneficiary here?
I really question whether that's the case. One of the things that I think the SEC has written into this rule is to say that anyone who has any potential interest in changing control or influencing the governance of a corporation and files a Schedule 13D would not be able to make a nomination.
But hedge funds don't typically hold stock for 3 years, do they?
Hedge funds don't. They're in and out, and one of the things that the SEC is trying to do is make sure that it only empowers long-term investors, not short-term investors.
Well, how many shareholders or groups actually own 3% of a company for, say, 3 years?
Well, I think that their number is increasing, particularly as we've seen market prices decline. But in reality, I think the number is still relatively small.
Mr. Pitt, in our last 30 seconds, Commissioner Kathleen Casey today voted against the rule, and she suggested a legal challenge could be forthcoming. How likely is that?
Oh, I think it's very likely that there'll be a legal challenge, and the question is whether the language of Dodd-Frank has eliminated that question.
Well, will the new rule withstand a legal challenge, do you think?
I think it still has a lot of hurdles to pass, and that this is going to be a very tough haul for the SEC.
Former SEC Chairman Harvey Pitt, now with Kalorama Partners, joining us from our Washington newsroom. Mr. Pitt, always good to have you on. Thanks so much.